I'm about to get a golf lesson from Tiger Woods' former golf coach, Sean Foley. Sean's worked with some of the best golfers in the world, including Justin Rose when he became #1 in the world, Lydia Ko, Ben On, just to name a few. And over the next 2 days, he's gonna be working on my game. And before we get to that lesson, let me show you this crazy resort where all this is taking place. My golf game right now, I'd say my biggest issue is consistency. I feel like if my driver's really hot, my irons are cold. And if my irons are hot, my putter's cold. I just can't get all parts of my game firing at once. So I'm really hoping at the end of these 2 days, I become a much more consistent golfer. It's actually crazy to think that just a couple months ago, I was at the Waste Management, ran into Sean on the driving range, and now I have this opportunity to actually work with him and go to his golf school. What's cool about this golf school is that anyone can be part of it. I'll put a link in the description of this video so you can find out how you can be part of the Sean Foley Golf Performance School. Somewhere down here. Hey Sean, Brandon.
Hi, Brandon.
How are you?
When people say the fundamentals matter, they do, but I don't think we've studied what that actually means. So if the fundamental is that you and you and you should have the same grip, then that's not right, because that's just not how people's shoulders hang. Everyone's slightly different. So we're going to work with what you have here with these coaches. I'm going to coach you the whole time, right? As we're working with you, because this group is smaller than the normal 12, well, you're going to get way more time. So just questions you have, like, I was told to do this or this or this, these things that keep you in the rut. And so we have obviously the putting, short game. We're going to do some video. I'm also going to show you some 3D. When you go, how can you, one, work on the stuff in your swing, but that two, make your practice a little bit more to building in how you're going to play.
Brand new balls.
Oh yeah.
Balls are everything. You can go to the nicest range in the world that you've ever seen in your life with shit balls, and it's a terrible experience.
Oh, it sucks.
Okay, hit a couple. I'll be right with you.
Okay.
Where will you say you're aiming?
Right over that red flag.
Okay. That's your shape? You play a draw?
Today I do. Normally it's a cut, but since the changes we made, it's kind of turned into just a slight draw.
Okay, so hold on there. Okay, now watch this. If you look this, now see, don't tilt your neck.
Okay.
So don't get your neck going that way.
Okay.
Just look like you're looking down the line of a putt. See how you can't see the flag now?
Right.
So you're aimed so far right.
Okay.
All right? So come back here again. So alignment is just the craziest thing, right? Most people don't really focus on it the correct way. So the thing is, your swing, of course, your swing needs to improve, but as a sniper rifle goes, your rifle's pretty good. It's just if you don't have a good scope, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
So your swing and your ability to hit the ball far, you're well in that direction. But the thing is, your practice can only be as quality as your aim. I'm not saying we have to aim perfect, but we have to aim consistent, right? So when people walk in, they come in, they go red flag. Do you pick out an intermediate on the course?
On the course I do,
Okay.
for sure, yeah.
So they'll pick in an intermediate, and then they come in, they put their feet down, and then they go there, right?
Yeah.
So now, if I look properly, I can't see the flag. If I do this, I can see the whole resort. So you have to, from there, now have incentive to not do the right things. Right? So people are either going to aim slightly right or slightly left. I've never seen anyone really good way right or way left. Okay?
Okay.
So just from a walk-in standpoint, if I pick that flag right there, my intermediate's kind of over here. Okay?
Okay.
So I work with a lot with my players on how they walk into the ball. I know it sounds crazy. I never thought 20 years ago I'd ever think about how we walked into a ball. But I just noticed, like, okay, it's hard to get someone to improve their swing. It's not that it's hard, it just takes time. It's actually, this process is quite simple. It's just whether or not you can run into people who will hang in there long enough to actually see it through. Right? But the process of alignment is something I can get good at, like, quite instantly. Okay? And the thing about golf that makes it difficult, most sports where we're throwing something or even swinging something, we're kind of looking at where it's coming from.
Right.
Or where we want to go. In golf, you're looking down and you're bent over and you're sideways. And I think that's what makes it really difficult, okay? So I picked that intermediate. What I want to do now is I want to try to have my grip on the club by now, okay? And so as I walk in, I line that leading edge up to the intermediate. Now, do you see how my body looks? See how I'm kind of open?
Yeah.
Now, I go club face, eyes to the target, and then set my feet. Because what we need to realize through this sense, we're detecting so much information that then the brain looks at and makes all its decisions on what needs to happen. As we're telling ourselves to like be positive and make a good swing, behind the scenes, there's a ton of shit going on that has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Because if it was that easy, then we'd make a good swing and stay positive, right? So as I walk in, club first. So I feel like I'm hitting a 2-footer now, right? Just to there.
Okay.
Eyes, feet. Okay. Most people walk in head down, not on the target. Kind of look at the target, come in, get their intermediate, and then put their feet down, and then take their grip, and they're always aim miles right.
Okay.
And what is an epidemic in golf when you play with amateurs?
Slice.
Over the top.
Yeah.
Right? So our brain's quite incredible. So it knows that we're over here, and then we look over here. If I make a good swing from here, I'm just gonna hit it over there. So then, if I get over here and I gotta get it back to that target, then I'm gonna do it that way.
Right.
Right? So that to me, that's the genesis of over the top, is that most right-handed golfers are aimed way right. And then their club face is way open, so they gotta do a bunch of things to make it close, right? So knowing that you're at a higher level as a player, being good at this would be the same thing as, there's not one sniper who doesn't clean his instrument after he's been out, right? Like that's painstaking.
Right.
This is like the stuff that needs to be painstaking. So that's how I want you to do it.
Okay.
So show me how you're good without this on the ground.
Okay.
And then you're aware that if the club face is pointed at the target, that the feet can't be, right? This is gonna have to be parallel.
Okay.
People will hit a shot and not be aimed well, and then put a club down on their feet. But what's making the ball start?
Club.
Club face.
Yeah.
So I can aim my feet, I could be perfect here, but if my club face is pointed over there, the ball's gonna go over there,
Right.
okay?
Okay. And we have this immediate target in front of us. Are you thinking of hitting the ball over that immediate target?
Not really, no. No, I mean, not, I mean, look, some people may.
Right.
Personally, I'm not.
Okay.
I want you to pretend you're on the course.
Okay.
And we're going at, I'm gonna move this.
Sure.
And I want you to go at that far right flag.
The white one?
Yeah, so
In the
just,
distance?
yeah, just based on how I just explained it.
Okay.
Okay, walk back out again. Okay, you were good. But when you get in here, I want you to keep your eyes out
Oh, okay.
as you come back. Eyes out, eyes back, awareness out.
Okay.
Okay? Like, can you see your childhood home in your head right now?
Yep.
That's awareness.
Okay.
Okay? Okay? Good, go for it. So there's not much use to, like, once you get to higher levels, you know, when you do golf schools like this, you have levels. So you have all the way to, we have a guy who's played pro golf, all the way down to 2 new beginners, but they have a good background in sports, right? So they can do a lot of good things, but you know, golf, you have to learn some of the things, right?
Right.
It's quite unnatural. But once you get to a higher level, if you see people who aren't aiming properly, it's like, what's the rest of it about? You know?
Yeah.
There's no, the rest of it isn't a good idea, right?
Okay.
So let me see you step in again. Now, we're gonna change targets.
Okay.
Now I want you to go at the highest gazebo.
Okay.
Okay, excellent. So the thing is, once I know where you're aimed, then I can start to figure out what pattern you have.
Okay.
But until then, it's like, what's the use, right?
Gotcha.
There's no use. Like back at home in Canada, I remember in the winter, everyone's swing got so much better is because the academies indoors were so linear. You're on this mat, it was obvious, and you were just hitting to a bullseye just right there.
Right.
So nets are a great way to work on your swing.
Okay.
Yeah. Super, excellent. Okay, good. So I'm seeing a tendency of like an overdraw.
Yeah.
If you've overfaded it, then it just depends on what you've already been working on, right? Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is step in there and do it again for 2 more. I'm just gonna take a video. Good. So when you overdraw, does it feel more solid than the fade did?
Definitely way more solid.
Less wipey.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, one more. And you see, like we're able to do that in a morning, right? But that's the importance of like the depth of understanding the sciences behind it. It's not to sound smart, it's to be able to help people, because at the end of the day, when you're overfading it, the face is open to the path. When you're overdrawing it, the face is too close to the path. Then we say, all right, is it a club face issue or a path issue? But then you have to look at people's posture before you even begin with all that. You have to look at their grip. And it's just kind of a story that tells itself over time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of how we got to this point, is like you can't overlook anything as unimportant.
Okay.
Okay? What sports did you grow up playing?
Hockey.
Duh. Where'd you grow up again?
Calgary.
That's right, yeah. Hockey. Is that it?
Baseball.
And then play golf a bit too?
Golf, yeah.
Okay, so those 3, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, come with me. Okay, so I would say to begin with, none of this is good or bad, okay?
Okay.
The club face is kind of sorted. So as far as your wrist angles go here, see this triangle?
Yeah.
All that's in a pretty good spot, okay? Like I don't look at that and go, oh no, okay? So in this, like, if a doctor looked at us, they find a million things wrong with us. What's holding us back from feeling better? That's what we need to find. And that, but by being able to do that is really important, because then it keeps you from not bouncing around to like every little nook and cranny that's unimportant, okay? So Wills,
Yes.
so he said that when he started out today, he was hitting a bit too much of a fade,
Yeah.
and now it's an overdraw,
Yeah.
okay? And then not good or bad.
Right.
What have you guys worked on so far? So is this different now? Or is that similar to what it was? Keep going.
Same-ish.
Yeah, no, I like
Yeah.
this. That's better.
Yeah.
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 If you like to fade the ball,
I would love to work it both ways.
yeah, and the math is on that. You'll hear people say, you want to play golf well, you got to work it both ways. The data does not represent that.
Right.
The guys on tour, some can do it. Some are very good at doing the same thing each time.
Right.
Now, they're 185 yards. It's a right pin. They hit a pretty decent draw. Mm-hmm. If they're playing out of their mind, they still hit that shot.
Right.
They don't try to fade it. They just accept 20 or 30 feet left of the pin.
Gotcha.
Because at 185, holes play over par on par threes, right?
Wow.
So at a 185 par three, the stroke average is 3.08, and it would depend on how difficult some of the green complexes are, but it is over par.
Wow.
Par threes play over par at 160.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's with the best players in the world.
Wow.
But that's when you realize how much of the belief systems and domestication of our thoughts, I mean, what led the world to strokes gained, you've seen strokes gained,
Yeah.
is the saying drive for show, putt for dough. And then Mark Brody is a mathematician at Columbia who meets Brad Faxon, who's introduced to him as the best putter ever. And Mark said, how many times have you won on tour? And Brad said 5. And that did not compute with drive for show, putt for dough.
Okay.
So then Mark took his big math brain and his love for golf and created all the current data to this day.
Wow.
So back in the day, tighter holes, hit 3-wood. Not now. Now it's hit driver.
Really?
The funny thing is, like, it took a brilliant guy to show us that getting closer to the green was going to help us have less strokes.
I guess when you put it like that, it makes sense.
Wills, when you look at that now,
Yeah.
see him coming down? Okay, so that's going to be a definite potential fader. Now he starts going the right side bend, stalls a little bit, and then obviously his release is really good, right? He creates speed. So I think because he has faded the ball, it wants to work it both ways. I get that. You can, but I think getting him overall into being more neutral would allow you to do that. So set up for me there. Okay, so what I want you to do, I want you to feel like there's a samurai sword under your neck.
Okay.
And I want you to stay tall as you make the first part of this takeaway. So I want you to put the club in my hands. Okay, lovely. Again. So did you see in this video as you swing to the top how you get lower?
Yeah.
Okay, you drop. So where is that drop coming from? It's not coming from the legs. Your legs look, they're perfect right there, okay? But when I add this here,
Yeah.
I'm adding forward bend,
Okay.
okay? When I add forward bend, in this rotation, it tilts my spine left, okay? Now, when I add forward bend this way, as I start down, I'm gonna be this way more. You know how you feel stuck and kind of under it?
Yeah.
That's where that comes from.
Okay.
So I want you to feel like, as tall as you start, in that first kind of 2 feet, is feel like you're getting almost a half an inch to an inch taller as you're doing it.
Okay.
Because look, if the momentum of our arms is going this way,
Yeah.
our body shouldn't be going against it,
Okay.
okay? That's why your shoulder will end up looking like a little bit like lawnmower,
Okay.
is because when I drop here, I lose rotation, but I'm still gonna be back here with my shoulder.
Okay.
And that's gonna lead to a lot of that,
Okay.
okay?
Can we hit one?
No. So feel like you're getting an inch taller as you're taking it into my hand. Okay, do it again. Hands over here. Good. Okay, do it again, but feel like you're getting an inch taller as you do it. Okay. Go ahead now. Now you can hit one, but I still want you to get through that first part. See, so that took a little bit of the draw out.
Yeah. I would take that flight.
Yeah, absolutely. But yes, this isn't a terrible thing. It's just gonna ultimately, in your case, cause the path to be too much from inside. Once you get across the line, that's another thing that's gonna cause the path to get too much from the inside.
Right.
So set up again. Okay, stay tall as you get the couple reps here. Good, a little more out. There you go, good. 2 more times, a little more out, getting taller. Yep, and one more. Okay, same thing, the result doesn't matter, just get through that phase. Yep, so out, wide, and tall. Excellent. Okay, take that through. And then with what we're doing here, I could perceive that I would start to see a straighter flight to a little bit of a fade or a little bit of a draw.
Okay.
The difference between the two is literally 3 degrees of path and face. It's so minimal.
Okay.
Over 16 feet that the club's swinging. Okay? Yep, good. Again, for a little longer. Good. Okay, do it again. Feel like you're getting taller as you're doing it. There we go. Make it just like that. I don't even care how you hit it. Just do that right. There we go. That was money. So if I put the one that was visually not as good as the straight one, and I put them on a camera there,
Yeah.
it'd be very hard for people to detect the difference. But that's just how minuscule it's just your worst shot of the day is almost as good as your best shot of the day. It's
Right.
just a millionth of a second. It's pretty challenging.
Wow.
Right?
Something that we kind of teed up for the audience was I'm coming here to gain more consistency. So can you kind of help me explain how the changes that we're moving lead to better consistency?
Yes. So, as we're working this overall, like globally towards consistency, if the only thing that you took out of this was the ability to learn how to aim properly, that's going to lead to more consistency. Because the more divergence there is there, the more changes there needs to be made, technically speaking.
Okay.
So consistency is something that we can all do, like we can all aim properly. We can't miss that. We can't guarantee that we're going to hit every shot well, because the Hall of Fame is full of people whose bad was better than everyone else's,
Right.
right? Because golf isn't really a measurement of how good you were that day, it's just how bad you weren't.
Okay.
Is that fair? I mean, you've played enough.
Totally. Yeah.
Right? That I had plenty of guys who shoot 36 on the front, and then plenty of guys who then shoot 44 on the back. The pros shoot 35, 35, 36, 34.
Right.
38, maybe 32, but you don't see 32s that much.
Right.
4 under is 4 birdies and 9 holes. When you look at being successful at shooting a lower score, there's way less that goes into it than people think. So consistency, don't 3-putt, don't make doubles, don't hit it in a fairway bunker, don't be short-sided. When you take the real great data guys and they caddy for a 15 handicap, they always take like 8 to 10 strokes off their game by making them play the game of probability.
Right.
So they keep them away from where big numbers happen.
Yeah.
They still slice it each time,
Right.
but the slice normally comes back into play.
Okay.
So the consistency of that would be one, being able to set up the same, if my eyes are bringing back the same information, my body's gonna start to be way more cohesive with what the senses are telling it, okay? So if I aim you 20 degrees right for a week, you're gonna find a way to bring it back to the target. Then I flip you the other way, you're gonna find a way to bring it back to the target.
Right.
If we can make it to where it's just a little right or a little left, you won't have to make so many manipulations to get the ball to go where you want it to go.
Okay.
And then from the standpoint of you could see when you and Wills added like width to it,
Yeah.
it turned into a draw.
Right.
Because before when it was narrow, you kind of did everything the same, but that is a big difference than that.
Yeah.
That's gonna lead to that, and that's gonna lead to that,
Okay.
right? So when people show people's downswing here, it's really just a direct representation where their backswing was. And I really believe that golf is a backswing game, because from the top to the bottom, you're 2/100ths of a second. That's not a lot of time.
No.
You know, even to fire a thought, it probably doesn't access that kind of movement. Right. So being able now from here to work on maintaining the height and getting the path, I don't really like the word plane, but path and face correct. Really at this point, if I start stretching my arms away from my turn, that's pretty much where the club's gonna go for me. Now, if I had a much stronger grip, that same frame, I'm more in. If I had a weaker grip, we can say without a doubt that PGA Tour players are stretching through the first phase of their backswing. The difference is we see them all look slightly different and think it's really unique. But the phases of the movement are very similar.
Yeah.
Right?
Cool.
So yeah, the width is gonna help you not be too wipey.
Okay.
And then you might draw it. Yeah, I mean, that's all day. This is it, right?
Yeah.
Which one's that?
The right one's after.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's gonna happen here versus here? This is after?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, hands on.
You already hit it far enough.
Yeah.
Speed's not a problem.
No.
Okay? That is going to take almost one variable out in the downswing. So this is more long drive. That will be more consistent.
Okay.
Okay? Because that's the picture there, Wills.
Yeah.
But one down the line would be helpful too, right?
Yeah.
So that would be what I would say on that.
Cool. Well, thanks very much.
But yeah, the alignment piece is huge.
That is big. Quick little recap of my lesson with Sean. He is just filled with information. So I'm trying to recall what I found to be the most valuable or the most game-changing as far as my swing goes. So one of the things that we're working on is taking the club out wider and getting taller. I used to fall victim of coming too far on the inside, dipping my body low. Sean was saying I can get wider in my swing, reaching further back. And a pretty cool visual he gave me is think of a samurai sword under my throat. That if I go down, it's gonna cut my throat. So I'm thinking of staying tall, bringing the club back out wider to start my swing. Like any swing changes, it feels super foreign and weird and uncomfortable, but I think if I stick with it, it's gonna make me become much more consistent, and that's exactly what we were looking for. One of the really cool stats that Sean had told me is he was talking about a couple things. Scoring, I always thought you want to hit fairways. I'd rather hit a 180-yard shot middle of the fairway than be, 100 yards in the rough. And he's saying, data disagrees with you. Get the ball as close to the hole as possible. Your scores will come down. The other thing he was talking about was par 3 scoring. He said anything above 160 yards, the PGA Tour averages over par. So the next time you have 160 yards in, you're thinking it's a scoring club, just remember that the best players in the world are actually averaging over par. Super cool. I was kind of like really caught up in the moment, and I wanted to try to be present and stay in the moment, but overall it was awesome.
Like Chick-fil-A's bad too. I'm like, is Karen, it's kind of all bad. So into the wind, for example, when the wind is blowing 20 miles an hour into, remember the golf ball weighs is more than an ounce. Okay, he hits a 6-iron 200 yards. 20 miles an hour into, we lose 30 yards of carry. Now, directly downwind, we only gain 15. So when you're into the wind, you lose twice as much as you gain downwind. Into the wind, what occurs is because of the velocity of the ball going into the velocity of the wind, the ball lifts more and it gets slowed down. So the wind is
is not knocking spin off the ball. When I hit the ball at impact, due to friction, it's spinning. Nothing is going to change to its spin in the air. That week, we were number 1 through the first 2 rounds in proximity to the hole at 14 feet. It was blowing 30 miles an hour. And I mean, Augusta, one day you will find out if this place isn't a 30-mile-an-hour wind, it is loony bin, because there's nowhere you can hit it low. Everything has to be up in the air because the greens are so firm and they're so fast. Most par 3s are elevated. What we're going to do here is we're going to look at chest turn, pelvis turn, and pelvis sway. So these are all things that happen when we walk. So when people say you shouldn't sway in golf, I sway when I get into my right heel. There's always going to be some sway. There's no way that my hands are going to start to go back in a linear fashion and my body's not going to interpret that. We're not trying to lag the club ever. It's lag occurs. It's a consequence, right? Mike Tyson wasn't trying to lag his arm. He was trying to punch the person. His arm looked like it was lagging in slow motion. It's lagging behind the segment. So all these segments are trailing each other. So I have up here, this goes this way. This is now counter-rotating to this. I go here, now this is counter-rotating to this. So those are the movements that our ancestors would have had throwing spears and rocks. We can't throw it as far like this. Now, if you took someone who could really throw a ball and just let them stand here and throw it hard, they can still throw it hard. But when we use the whole system, it gives us gains, right? So when I do schools like this, I hear so many people say, I gotta clear my hips. You don't have to clear your hips. Your hips probably won't clear. In order for your hips to look like they've cleared, you gotta have about 45 degrees of internal hip rotation to look like they cleared. Remember, if I'm trying to make all this velocity go here, these are stiffening and stopping. Some people just are gonna rotate more through that joint. That's not the answer to anything, it's just how your hips move. Okay, so if you look at Scotty Scheffler and Ben, they're easily 2 of the best ball strikers in the world right now. They're the most square to the target line out of anybody. If you look back at Nicklaus, Tom Watson, Greg Norman, you see the same thing. Then you'll see Sam Snead, who's not there. And you'll see Victor Hovland, who's not there. I would just argue those guys have way, way more mobility, especially where they rotate from. So when we talk about the hips and we talk about the body and the turn, that ankle is so important in being able to do the rest of that up the chain. The wrist is so important in being able to do the rest of that up the chain. Okay, so being under the plane, having a big turn and being under the plane is going to speed everybody up, right? It never hasn't, not one time, right? Okay, cool.
I've had so many guys come to me, dude, with a beautiful golf swing, and they fucking hit it like that.
Right, yeah.
And they're like, you think it's mental? I'm like, no, I just think that you're trying to look good and not hit the ball well.
That makes sense.
Right?
Yeah. So if I can ask you just 2 questions to kind of help the everyday golfer.
Sure.
My questions would be, how do you improve consistency for kind of the average golfer? And then I think a lot of people want to hit it further. So if I'm your student, what are some things that I could work on to just be more, to make better ball contact, really?
Well, it's not so much that not so much like that there's some quick solution to doing that. I think the biggest aspect of like what we do at our golf schools, what I do on the PGA Tour with my players is understand that, I used to have a picture in my office of Jeff Bezos, and this is when he had a full head of hair, and it was him and the first 2 employees at Amazon.
Oh, wow.
And now states are fighting over who can build his facility for 50,000 employees.
Wow.
Right? So it's always been the same to him. So the thing with most people is, most people are closer to the finish line than they realize, but because they can't see it, they quit. And so Usain Bolt said, I trained for 4 years to run for 9 seconds. Most people quit in 2 months. So to me, it's like once you find a good coach, right? And be picky about that. Just because someone says they're a doctor, it doesn't mean they're a great doctor, right? The guy who finishes last in med school is called a doctor. So it's not so much technically what I would tell people. I just don't think that most people have the resilience or the ability to delay gratification enough so you can go to a golf school and people are gonna say, hey, try this, and everything is about this instant result.
Right.
But then people leave and can't remember what they did.
Yeah.
So if you need me here in order for you to hit it better, then I'm not teaching you. So I think one of the main important things is, like we've done with you, is take you through the structure of this is it, this is that. The cool part is once you understood that, you realize like so many other things that you thought mattered, they just went in the garbage.
Yeah.
And so if I can get you closer to clarity, you're gonna play better anyways.
Cool.
See, so that's one. And as far as it relates to, you know, people wanting to hit the ball far, if we look at the longest hitters, their hands travel the furthest distance in the backswing, their body turns the most, right? So when people like, you know, what's the 3 or 4 ways to create power? Remember, this isn't overly heavy. So the more time we have to swing it and put force into it, the more time we can. So if I only go to here, I can only swing it so fast. If I go to here, but now when people aren't hitting the ball very well, their buddies in their men's game says, your backswing was too long.
Right.
Yes and no, right? It can be wrong, it can be long the wrong way too, right? But if you're trying to get clubhead speed, you're trying to increase the amount of time that you have to put input into the golf club.
Gotcha.
Most of that is coming from the speed of the hands and arms. The body and the muscles and what they do is kind of like, you know, that's first gear and second gear in a Ferrari. Third, fourth, and fifth is the torso, the hands and arms. When we're talking about using the ground or generating energy, that's the earthquake that starts a tsunami, right? So what happens is that's just the genesis, that's just beginning it. Basically, my legs are here to create friction with the ground, so I have a stable base. And then most of what happens after that is going to be coming from this cohesive unit of the ground and the feet and the whole system. Why do you think you potentially could learn to hit the ball further than I could?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Why could you?
maybe his height or
Of course.
size, right?
Of course. So once again, put your hand up to the sky, okay? And that's me. That's how much more time you have to create speed coming down,
Okay.
right?
Right. Interesting.
So you would be undersized at a World Long Drive right now. They would most often be taller than you and be 30, 40 pounds heavier than you,
Yeah.
right? So that is a big component.
Okay.
So if people are being told, you know, to keep their body still and make sure they have a short swing, they're not gonna hit it very far.
Interesting.
When you watch those guys, they're like, right now they're trying to do one thing,
Right.
which is hit it as far as they can.
Yeah.
I think what I've been able to do in pro golf is increase speed, but also accuracy.
Amazing.
Well, you gotta find your ball, right? And especially for people out there spending $9 on a Pro V1.
And I noticed that even just in the day and 2 days being here, working with your coaches, my dispersion went from this to this. So I wanted consistency in my game.
That's what it's about. And what we do here is like, I have a very high standard for myself and how I've done this for 30 years. And I'm my own biggest critic. And so all the guys that you saw here were all guys that I've mentored since they're very young. And so I know that if I decide to quit coaching pro golf right now, I could send each of them out with any of my players on tour and they do a great job. And so I know that when people, you know, are coming to do something like this and they're putting their money together to do it, we take that really seriously. Like it's super serious. And I go and learn certain things too, and I'm super serious about who I'm going to see.
Yeah.
So we got to be careful because there's a difference between marketing and there's a difference between greatness. And a lot of times people have marketed themselves like they're great, but they're just great at marketing.
Interesting. That's a good way to put it. Well, I really appreciate it.
My man, thank you.
Okay, guys, that wraps up our 2-day at Sean Foley's golf school. Had a great day. Definitely improved the game. I just really want to thank you so much for having me out, and hopefully the audience learned a lot and they can come enjoy your school like I did.
You got it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks, Sean.